Welcome to A Women's Brew, where women talk about beer. In today's episode, we welcome Eko Brewery back to the spotlight to shine a light on their brewery and what it's like using South African hops in their brews. I'm Joanne, and this is Tori.
Hello.
And we're two beer-loving women on a mission to get more people drinking and talking about great beer. Come join us. All right, this feels like this podcast has been a long time coming, but we are finally here with Anthony and Helena from Eko. Welcome. How are you? Hope you're well.
We are good.
We're good. Doing well.
Busy?
How are you two?
Yeah, good.
Yeah, good. Or really excited because, like Joe said, we've been trying to get you both on, and there's just been so much going on, with you guys and with us, that it's just finally we've got you on.
Yeah. And I think the first time, Joe messaged me or messaged us, and then I didn't get it, and I was like, I think we were talking. It was like, yeah, we'll do a podcast. Yeah. And I guess you emailed us, didn't do it one day, and then I was looking through my emails and I just saw it in spam, and I was just like, oh my goodness, she must have thought, she just ignored me.
I was gonna say, Pete just
figured you were really busy.
People might remember you from the one day episode, and I think we mentioned it on there, and you were like, I'm so sorry, I wasn't ignoring you.
I really wasn't. I was just like, what is this? Because I thought, oh yeah, obviously you must be really busy, didn't message her. Then and I was just like, oh no, she must have thought that I was just like, yeah, let's do a podcast. Ignore. But I did not. I swear, it wasn't spam. And finally, we've made it happen.
Yes, we're making it happen.
Yeah, we actually try our best to try and get back to everyone that contacts us. It can be challenging sometimes. Just managing everything, and I think one place to not send a message to is it Facebook. We had an issue with Facebook.
Facebook Messenger is a bit of a nightmare for you, because it doesn't come through your personal one. Connected, your business page, it kind of hides it. Yeah,
instead if you're not connected, you have to go to filtered messages.
Yeah.
I do feel, and apologies to anyone who's contacted us on Facebook, and we've had to put an automated. I've had to put an automated message, and we'll get back to you, and they're probably thinking it's been 5 days, and I'm like, I didn't even see it. I'm sorry. So I
had one occasion where it was months, wasn't it?
It was weeks. Calm down. This looks so bad.
I feel like it was 2 months.
It gets to a point though, I could say with when it comes to work emails, so I'll get to I'll go, oh, it's gone to my spam folder, and then I'm like, oh, it's been a few weeks. Do we just we just leave it now? If I go back now, it's a bit weird, isn't it?
Oops, sorry, just found it.
Never saw it. But no, it was just, so I think we've had to, in the automated message, I've literally had to put our email address, it's message us there, and we'll get back to you, unless it goes to spam, and then it's well, there's nothing I could do. I'm sorry.
We'll find you eventually.
No, I tried.
You're only 2 people. It's more than fine.
That's it. I do think I was speaking to Natalia Watson the other day, and I think a lot of people message us, and it's great, and we love speaking to them, but sometimes the tone of the messaging is almost they think we're this huge team, or maybe not huge, but more than just Anthony and myself,
right?
And it's it's just him and I, and we are just doing our best to keep up with all of this, so bear with us, please.
I think it's a superhuman thing though, because I think people just think, oh, if you're a brewery, there's no way you just do it as 2 people to keep up with all that you must have someone that does your specifically on your social media, and then another person that specifically does the finance,
and someone on sales, and someone,
right?
No.
2-man band, one man, one woman band.
Stacey at Rock Leopard would sort of joke and be like, "Oh, I should get one of you guys to do that."
Oh my god, yeah, he would always say that.
Get one of you. Stop it.
It's just there are no other guys.
You know it's going to be me.
It's just us.
To do that.
That's when you get the eye roll that's so like I would be eye rolling so hard that it would be audible at that point.
I've got a headache now. I rolled so hard. Literally. But obviously and he's in the same situation as well. So it's like, yeah, let's just get our guys to do this. It's like, yeah. I'll send,
my guy will help you out, your guy can help me out.
Exactly.
There are no guys.
You send your guys like it's just me. It's just me.
This feels like a perfect this feels like a perfect point for you to kind of, for anyone that hasn't listened to the one day episode with you and Emma from Mirakai, who also is in a similar two-man, two-person band as well. Maybe you guys could just, if it's not clear, introduce yourself and your brewery and what you guys do at the brewery.
Should I start? So I'm Anthony, and
I'm Anthony. I'm Helena. I'm also Anthony, and I am Helena. And together we are the co-founders of Eko Brewery.
It's African-inspired craft beer producer.
Amazing.
So we make
African-inspired
beers with ingredients and influences from our culture.
Yeah. In a nutshell, really, that's really what we are.
Yeah.
Cool. I think we sort of did high level, like I said on the last episode, but like high level, like what was your journey getting into craft beer?
So, do you want to go? Shall I?
Yeah, it probably started with me. So my background is in engineering, and I've traveled around the world, and I'd always try and sample the beer wherever I am. And I'd go back and sort of build a bit of a knowledge for trying out local beer, and kind of had an interest in beer. It's either when you travel a lot for work, you either talk about football, golf, and then you spend a lot of time in bars and restaurants eating and drinking, because once your work day is over, you go back to the hotel and you have to eat, right? So did a lot of that, and then I went to Japan. I went to work in Japan for a week, or was it 2? It was 2 weeks actually. And while I was there, I really, really liked the country. I enjoyed the cultural aspect of the country, because it was so different from what I was used to. So I decided to go back. It's like, got to go back to Japan. It's an amazing place. And luckily, I had a friend who also wanted to go to Japan. So we went traveling around Japan for 4 weeks. And went from south all the way to the north. And when we got to the north, there's a city called Sapporo. And Sapporo has a brewery, so you might have heard of Sapporo beer, right? So they have a brewery there. We went and did a brewery tour, and I think that's probably when I first fell in love with the brewing process, because it's with an engineering background. It's very similar to engineering. I mean, you have food products which are put into tanks. You add water, and you transfer the water from vessel to vessel, and at the end you get this amazing drink that is great. It's great for socializing with.
Yeah. This is witchcraft, and I like it.
Actually, in Japan though, like in Japan, that is when you get people that are like normally more reserved and quiet, and then you go out for drinks, and that's when it's literally just like amazing.
Exactly. The nightlife in Japan is amazing. They drink a lot of sake, and sake, I feel like sake is a dangerous drink.
It's very dangerous.
You don't really feel it until you try to walk around. So you can sit down and drink half a bottle of sake easily. It's
like one day.
It's when you try to walk around and you realise,
like one day.
I'm intoxicated now.
Seriously, don't remind me about one day. Literally, that whole litre.
It was like drinking. It was basically like
you're like, it's gone. It's gone.
It was like, and then we were just getting louder and louder. Yeah. But yeah, sake is definitely like that.
Yeah.
So enjoyable, and it's when you get a good sake, like so enjoyable and so fruity. But you're like, oh yeah, this is great. Next thing you know, you're on the floor.
Yeah.
There was a really cool place I went to in Tokyo that was like a sake. It was a sake bar, but it was like pay for a set amount of time, and you served yourself, like there was you had like a fridge section for the sparkling ones, and then like the normal shelf ones, and you could order cocktails I think as well, and it was literally like pay a set amount, stay in there for an hour or 2 hours, whatever it is, and then you could sample whatever you wanted, and it was help yourself. And that was really interesting because you could kind of like see one and be like, oh, what's this one about, sort of thing, and then be like, oh, I think I'll try that, that's got a cool label, and then you could work out like what you did and didn't like with it. I've worked out that I'm very much a sparkling sake person because I like it to be a bit sweeter and cold. The warm one, I just can't do it. It's too much for me.
But yeah, so Japan's an interesting place. So fast forward a few years, I went to live in America, luckily with work again. Engineering can take you around the world. So I went to live in America for a year, and Helena would come visit. And at the time, the craft beer scene.
By then we were together.
So by then we were together. So Helena would come visit, and we'd go to like sort of pop-up beer gardens. And there was a craft beer. I felt like there was a craft beer pub in every corner of every block. And we just go around, and it was a nice way to sort of get introduced into the craft beer scene in America. And then coming back to the UK, did a bit of home brewing, and then we decided that look, need to take this a bit more seriously. And I went to a place called Brew in London. So Brews, for those who don't know, Brew is doesn't exist anymore. It was like a community where you could go and use slightly better kit to brew your beer. So you pay like a monthly subscription, and you get to use the kit to brew your beer. And it was a good place to learn because you had all sorts of people there. You had people that had basically no experience, and you had people that had lots of experience and worked for like really big breweries. And what I did was literally brew different styles of beer, but it was more talking to people and trying to get knowledge from people for me. Okay, what should I be doing here? Why does the beer taste so light? What can I do to add mouthfeel? And getting ideas from people and tweaking the recipe and seeing how the tweak of the recipe influenced the taste of the beer. And it was a great, but I actually met someone that was working at Brew at one of the festivals I was at recently. And he's now a brewer at Brixton Brewery. So Brew was an interesting place. It was I think it was part of our journey, and we made some beer and we tried it out with family and friends, right? Without really telling them who had produced the beer. They're sort of our guinea pigs, and they all loved it and gave really good feedback. And we thought, okay, let's see if we can make some of this and see if we can sell it if anyone will buy it. And we did. People enjoyed it. And actually, our first beer was the black. The Eko Black, the smoked porter. That was the first one we brewed.
It was.
And it's so like it's genuinely my favorite one.
I know.
I love it so much. I don't know. I feel like it's a toss up. I really liked the Eko Pale 3. That one was like my favorite one of the lighter beers. But Eko Black,
definitely.
So good.
It is. No, it is. I think a lot of people are surprised by the Eko Black. Like, it was myself included, because I didn't tend to like darker beers. And actually, like you said, I got introduced to craft beer through Anthony, right? So obviously, you drink beers and stuff, but I had no clue about the craft brewing scene until we got to America, and then just got to experience this whole, I guess, mini community at the time. And it was like, oh wow, okay, let's see what it's like here. And then we were like, there was no one like us, so we were like, it would be great to bring our culture into this thing that we're really starting to love, really, and like. And honestly, beer was always part of my family. When I say, I don't know, I think I mentioned before, but like the women in my family, and I'm talking not like my sisters, but my mum and my aunts will drink anyone under the table when it comes to drinking beer. Like, seriously, that's what they drink. It was like so funny, like say the men in our family, especially in my culture in Congo, the women drink a lot of beer, like a lot of beer. And even in Africa, traditionally, it was women who brewed beer. So it's always been like just a thing. Like, it's like, cool, beer's always been there, but craft beer is just like completely new. And and I guess we got to also introduce that to our family and friends, because they weren't really or I don't like to say into, because you don't know if you're into something until you know about it, right? So they hadn't been exposed to it. And I think even my dad, like, he loves IPAs now. Like, he loves like the haze, and he's like, "You're gonna bring me some more." So it's just great. It's great that they're discovering. Yay!
If you're watching the video,
but it's great that we get to, I guess, we're introducing these unique ingredients, and a bit of the history, I guess, of a lot of, we were actually, in terms of the history, actually, we were shocked at how much a lot of it was rooted in Africa and how much like brewers knew about it. So that was really interesting. But then we're introducing our family and friends to this, this really interesting like world and community, and just different flavors. I think that's basically, for me, that's what it is. Like, I'm a foodie, I just love food, drink, that's like my thing. And I think for me, it's having the different varieties of flavors and just the things that you can do with it. Like, it's just, there's no limitations. I mean, sometimes, you get some beers and you're like, okay, we know there's no limitations, and you took it there.
Maybe there's no limitations, and sometimes like, maybe we should have a few.
Like, I think we should stop now.
I don't need cotton candy and bacon in my beer.
Are you being for real? Did you? Oh dear. Cotton candy and bacon. There is a marshmallow one with Marakai I'm making. I'm really interested to try.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. So I'm like, that is all for me. Like,
But that sounds great. Not like, bacon and
cotton candy.
We'll leave it there. But who knows? It might taste amazing, right? Or it could just taste like grease.
The thing is, I've had some like amazing like bacony type ones, like, so back to the Eko Black, how it's a smoked porter. I've had smoked beers that have like a bacony taste to it, and they've been like really good. But then I've had it when you try to put it in something that it doesn't work with the flavor profile of, and you're kind of like, oh, I understand, like, it's adding complexity. I'm not sure if it's for me.
I love that.
It definitely adds to the complexity. So we've done that.
I love that. I'm going to use that. This is very
it's adding to the
complex.
complexity.
It's very complex, very complex. I can't figure out. It's good. But yeah, like your smoked porter, it's just like when you get a smoked beer, it can be really hit or miss. Yours is just so sessionable, and that's why I love it. It's the most sessionable smoked beer.
So when we made the smoked porter, we because from our culture, when you tend to drink and have food at the same time. So we were really conscious that whatever we do, it needs to be sessionable in a way. It needs to go well with food, and that's what we found. And a lot of the people that buy the smoked porter from us are actually restaurants.
Oh wow!
Okay.
Yeah.
So
I'm surprised, because I would have thought that would have been a tough sell for a restaurant.
Yeah,
exactly.
But it goes really well with sort of spicy, smoked, barbecued food. So a lot of African cuisine is spicy. A lot of African cuisine is smoked. So it just pairs well with it.
But even with every type of cuisine,
African cuisine or African restaurants,
because we have like a Japanese restaurant that buys our beer, and they love the black, and
they only buy
really good with like their ramen. They have that spicy ramen. And it's just so good with it. So but that was definitely something in our mind where we were like, if we make these beers and we want, like our friend, family, community to have this, we need to make sure it tastes well with food. Otherwise, they're gonna be like, this is too overpowering, and it's like, But even then, I mean, they'll still drink it, but we that was always at the forefront of our minds. That you know what, let's try and make something that just speaks to the way that we're used to drinking. So and that's how we came up with this amazingly smoky, chocolatey goodness that is Eko Black.
It's so good. It's so good. We're going to crack it later. We're going to save it because we're going to do
I'm saving that to the end because I want to like savor that.
Savor it at the end.
Yeah, I'm gonna need that list of all the restaurants that buy from you. So I could be like, okay, hang on, where do I want to go and eat off? Because that sounds amazing. Spicy smoked food sounds amazing. Spicy ramen sounds amazing. Like anything spicy, I'm for it. So
same, honestly. Like we need to chill. Almost everything I have, I kind of add some sort of chili, spicy sauce, hot sauce to it. And he just watches me like, okay then.
This is what you need. You guys need to do like
sweat.
Hot sauce. You need to do a collaboration with hot sauce as well.
So we have actually been speaking to him.
What you need to do.
Sammy.
Yeah, we have.
So a little bit more obviously about us. Try Brew.
Yep.
So for those of you who don't know, and we are in the process and like trying to get our own site. So fingers crossed, cross your fingers, toes, everything, and that it'll happen soon. But so I think one of the challenges that we have, especially with collabs, is just making sure that the beers are good, but also where we're going to brew them. And so that makes it a little bit different for us, but we have spoken to Sammy, and he's a great guy, honestly. And we actually have his sources here.
Literally, it's so good.
So good. Like, and he actually has one with, I guess we're going to talk about our IPA later, but he obviously has one that has the African Queen hops. Yeah. And that is literally, it has to be my favorite out of all the hot sauces we've had from him. It's just amazing. You know, I was having some Nando's the other day and I was just like, I have a bit of chicken left. And then I added it to him and I was like, oh my God, this is so amazing. So yeah, we can't wait to do something with him.
Yeah, we will.
Honestly, yeah.
I think you hit the nail on the head. There's some complexities in terms of doing collabs, especially
keyword of the night.
Keyword of the complexities.
When you turn off and say we'd like to do a collab beer with a brewery, but we don't want the brewery to be part of the collab.
I'm trying to think of how that conversation goes down.
You're like,
it's a challenge itself.
Like we were thinking of doing a collab. But
not with you.
With you.
Not with you.
Not with you. But can we just use your equipment?
We're thinking of doing a collab.
Yeah.
That will make for an interesting conversation. Yeah. We'll get back to you on that.
Sure. Well, crossing fingers and toes that in a year's time, less than a year's time, very soon, that you're in your own space. That'll be really good.
Amazing, honestly. And we'll just it's just, we can't wait to have people just like come to us and get to meet them and for them to just sample our beer, but in our environment as well. Because I guess we started in festivals now. Wink, wink. Next week we'll meet some people too. And it's just crazy to me that, and I think I've said this before as well, where I think it's one of very few industries where you get to meet the people behind the creative work that you like. You don't, when I'm talking like literally speak to them, like try to figure out what their motivations are and get to tell them, look, I really like this one, or no, this one was okay, and it's fine, but I think there are very few industries where you get to do that, and you get to do that with craft beer. And so for me, I think that was one of the things that I kind of relished and thought, oh wow, that made me want to continue doing this, like just meeting the people and just getting that feedback, whether it's mostly been good, but obviously also I think we had someone who was like, oh, a porter, like a great drink, but I felt like it was a bit light. And I'm like, yes, it's not a stout,
no,
but it's great. It's fine. The feedback is, it's great, and I think they wanted it a little bit more, alky. They wanted that, I think the alcohol content to be a little bit higher. And it's like,
that's not what it's about.
That's not what it's about. Exactly.
All dark beers need to be high alcohol.
Exactly. So but it's good to like speak to people and kind of find out what they like. And also it helps us grow. And like Anthony said, speaking to brewers, even at these events, they kind of tell, oh, I've done this and I did that. Well, I tried this with it. And you're like, oh wow, that's really interesting. And like, I've never thought of doing that, with those particular hops. So it's it's been an interesting journey so far, anyways.
Well, you mentioned festivals, and I was drinking, Joe and I were drinking the Eko Gold Craft Lager. And for two people that always go, we're not lager people, or like, oh, I don't know, I don't really like lager. That was really lovely. I mean,
pretty
we've
much
decided,
gone.
we've also mine is gone.
Yours is
we've
gone.
rebranded because we used to go, we don't really like lager, and then
That's
we were
a
like,
lie.
well, okay, we do actually like lager, but the right ones.
That's
So
a
that
lie.
was
Yeah.
really like
Yeah,
so
it's
well
really good.
balanced, and it is just really lovely. But now my glass is empty and I'm sad.
Right, so
You mentioned festivals. So
Yeah.
we have got your Eko IPA, which is going to be
Yay.
pouring at Arundel on our bar.
Which we're excited about.
Yeah, which we're really excited about next week.
Yeah.
So do you want to tell us a bit about this beer and what we should be tasting from it? Because I'm going to pour mine now.
And Anthony's going to pour his too. Do you know what? Let me. I wish I'd had some water now, because then I'll just like cleanse. There we go.
I was going to say, I do have a water next to me because I usually like in between them, I'm like, just grab a bit of water.
Yummy.
It's a lovely colour.
Nice and clear. So,
Actually, before Helen
do you
talks
want to
about
go, or should I? You go.
should I talk about the label?
What's in there?
Oh yeah,
the label.
Yes.
Funny enough, so
Beautiful.
the label was created by Chris at Textbook Studios. Great guy. And I remember we spoke about the label and we're like, so we're bringing ingredients from hops from South Africa, and we're adding cassava, which is used widely in food as a food ingredient in all over Africa, South America, and lots of different places, right? We weren't sure what to do with the design of the artwork. So we were gonna, I don't know if you noticed on our labels, the bit that's our company logo, the bright light, moves around depending on where we take influence from on the continent. All three of the beers you've got
they're all the same. I was going to see if I can show it, but they're all the same.
They're all from West Africa, right? So like, okay, when we did the collab with cassava, the Ikeja collab with cassava, I think, did we have a bright light on that as well?
No, it was complete. So with our collabs, usually we're like, look, we're going to do a completely different design. And so that was a West Coast as well.
So we agreed we'd have the bright light in West Africa, but we had South African hops in the beer. So it's like, okay, how can we reflect that in the label? And we thought about using all the different colors from the flags, the country flags of West Africa and South Africa. And I remember Chris came up with a few designs, and it was just like, not sure about these, Chris. And then he's like, okay, let me spend a bit more time on it. And then he came back with this.
Yeah, if you're looking at the video, you can see it.
And we were just like, yeah, that's it.
That's fine, just take it.
We'll go with that. We didn't make any more changes to it.
Yeah.
It was literally what he sent is what you can see on the can. And we just went with it. So yeah,
I love
we
your
really
logo.
like the label on the IPA.
It's just bright, and actually when we brewed it, we were like, okay, we kind of had festivals in mind as well, because we were like, it'll be great for like the summer or spring, and just the weather's a bit rubbish at the moment, but you know what, it's good, it's all good. But about the beer, so Anthony mentioned, so we have cassava in the beer, and we also have the 3 South African hops that featured in our Pale Ale series. So funny enough, these hops are quite, I think they are, 2 of them were quite similar in the sense that they were quite fruity, and then one very distinctive southern aroma was more, I felt, piney. But then when I taste the beer, I feel like the fruity aromas. So I get, in terms of the taste, I feel like it's quite fruity, but in terms of the aroma, I get the pine from the smell of it. It's just, it's so, sometimes with drinking this beer, I get a little bit confused. My brain is like, oh, I'm expecting to get, pine and like grass roots. And then I taste it and I'm like, actually, it's quite fruity, actually. I get like berries.
I think the smell is quite delicate. Like,
Yeah.
I think it's a very like delicate smell, and it's almost like, for me, it lands almost a bit like florally and very like soft, like a very soft like floral. And then you taste it, and the bitterness is so well balanced with the fruitiness that you were saying.
I do think that with South African hops, actually, I don't think they are as intense as their European or American counterparts. But I guess that's what makes them different. And actually they do work well with everything that we are kind of about, and having like food with beer and everything. So it was just about being, again, experimental. We were like, let's try and bring these hops back onto the UK brewing scene, because I think for a very, very long time, they hadn't been on the UK brewing scene. So we were like, well, if we could get the hops, they're really difficult to get.
We managed to get our hands on some.
Managed to get ourselves on them. We were like, right, so it'd be nice for the people to start to get to know the individual hops, like the African Queen, Southern Aroma, Southern Passion, our favorite. And it's the favorite of a lot of, South African brewers as well. And that was the one that was in the Pale 3, Southern Passion. Like, it's just gorgeous. A really gorgeous hop. Honestly, it's just, and that was probably the most fruity hop out of the 3. And I think Southern Aroma, again, I think, like I said, I get a lot of the aromas from that particular hop, but then the taste of it, it's like, actually, I think the fruitier hops kind of take over for me anyways. It's what I get on my palate, but it's just really light, great beer to have, like refreshing. Like, this is like, you're really hot and you'll just drink this, like,
this would disappear out of the glass, I think.
As I say, and I can see exactly what you mean by it pairs really. I can see this pairing really well with food, and it's very sessionable. Like, it's, I just had to look at the percentage, 6%. I was like, no, it's not. It does not taste 6%.
It doesn't taste like 6%.
No, beer wizardry.
Watch out.
Especially in the sun. Like, I can just see, like, oh, it's really hot, and then you just throw in the back, you don't even realise. It does pair. I can see how this would pair quite well, because there's nothing that's so, like, it all works really well together in harmony, that there's no one specific flavour that's like overpowering everything else, where you go, oh, because this is so strong, I have to have this type of food with it.
Exactly.
It seems like it would match like quite good. I feel like this would be a really good barbecue beer. Like, having this in a nice barbecue.
Exactly.
Amazing.
Exactly.
In the sun.
Yeah, it's definitely a sunshine beer. It's so delicate and lovely. I really like it.
Thank you. We're hoping that people like it next week as well.
Fingers crossed. And I think it's different. Like, I don't think there's anybody else that's going to have, a beer with African hops in it. So hopefully, like,
or cassava.
Or cassava. We completely forgot about our dear friend cassava. Which is funny, actually. I think with this particular beer, so with the first time we brewed the cassava, I think the Kedra, even though it was a West Coast, I did feel like the mouthful was heavier, like a fuller mouthfeel than this. Whereas this, it's a lot lighter. So it's interesting.
It's probably worth mentioning that. So cassava doesn't have a very, very distinctive taste to it. So it's a bit like yam in many regards. If you compare it to like a root vegetable from the continent. Yam has a more distinctive taste, but cassava less so. So
if you think, actually, it's
yam,
more like,
I feel like you could taste it more in a beer.
You definitely can taste. I think yam has a more distinctive taste. This is more like potato. If you think of, so then, because with cassava you can do so many things. Literally, you can like fry it, you can boil it, you can even have cassava fries. And I think that's where, like, when you have potato chips, right, you can get the flavor from the fries a lot more than if you were to just have like standard mashed potato. So I think it's kind of the same, where when you fry it, you get all of these you get more of the flavors. But what it did do, I think, with our Ikeja, our first collab, it definitely gave it like more body. This one is really light. But it's just like we said, just experimenting with different beers and seeing what we get.
Well, I was going to say,
Can't-
like, the
different ingredients. Sorry, we'll probably cut that out. Experimenting with different ingredients.
I was just curious of, like, you mentioned how it's not, obviously African hops aren't that common to be used over here, at least at the moment, and you're trying to kind of make people more familiar with them. How do you know what works well together? Like, because like you said, there's obviously, it's probably quite expensive and difficult to get them. How do you know? Because it must be hard to go, we'll just order some and play around with it, because then that's money that you're spending just to play around to see how it reacts. Like, how does that work? I'm so interested.
It's risk honestly. It is the risk, but also a lot of it is research. I think even when we were brewing with our other ingredients, I think a lot of it is research. We were speaking to some South African brewers. I think you guys know Tola Kazibe, Apiwe, like she's just amazing, and she's very knowledgeable about hops and brewing. And so I think before, because we also had a talk with her and a chat with her, but even before that, she was a person that we used to always listen to in terms of like just listening to podcasts and like both of you before we even I think got to speaking, and I think that's how we got speaking. I was like liking your your podcast, and then Joe's like love me, like it's just amazing. So you learn so much, I think, and so that's really what it is. I think until you get to taste something, especially when we basically started out pretty much, came to our second year, the pandemic hit, so there's no way to go out, taste, and even travel there, even get some of her beer. So we were like, we're gonna have to go in blind based on our research and hope that it works out. But it was great. And then we got speaking to her, and she gave us like a lot of guidance as well in terms of which ones go with what. Like African Queen, for example, it's a dual hop, so we were like, okay, that would be great. And we've used it in another IPA as well, another collab. So it's worked out. We've been very lucky, I guess.
Well, I think that's part of the joy of craft beer, right?
Yeah.
So you do sort of go in blind a lot of times, right? And when you're using new ingredients, you do your research. You have to do your research, and you need to speak to really, really experienced brewers as well, just to get and bounce ideas off them, because you might come up with a crazy idea that just clearly won't work.
Never gonna work.
Stop
so
right
you
there.
bounce ideas off them and speak to them and say, this is what I'm planning to do. But then that's the joy of craft beer. You create something, and if it's amazing, everyone loves it, and then you're like, okay, how do I recreate that exact beer?
How did I do that?
And that's part of the joy, and it's why it's an innovative scene, right? Whereas you look at other industries and it's basically recreating the same thing over and over and over and over again, and there's no real movement. Whereas in craft beer, you can experiment, and people are happy for you to experiment and want to try different things, right? I
think and with every ingredient I think with every beer we've had and all the ingredients we tried, so it's a really collaborative process. So we would think, okay, what should we brew with next? He'll come up with ideas, I'll come up with ideas. Like the black was more or less his baby because he loves porters, and funny enough, I do prefer I used to, and then prefer lighter beers. And I was like, okay, well, let's brew. And actually, which was a gamble, because when we were thinking craft beer, it's like brew an IPA. Everyone's like, why are you not brewing an IPA? And we were like, well, we're gonna brew what we tend to like. And again, even me with lagers, like it has to be a really, really good lager. And I was like, let's try this. And I was like, why don't we do something with coconut palm sugar, just kind of base it off the palm wine drink. And we couldn't pour palm wine into the beer. It would have just been disastrous. So we were like, let's try and find the raw ingredients that go into it and see what happens. I guess we thought, let's start with a lager. I think it will be the easiest one to kind of brew with and experiment with. And then simply because the hops are not as complex as some of the ones you get in the IPA, right? In the IPA, sorry. And then we were like, okay, this worked out well, so let's try.
Let's go for it.
Let's try and make it and see what happens. And everybody loved it. They were like, what is this thing? What's happening in my mouth? I don't understand. And then we were like, cool, so let's bring it back down and do with the pills now. And then so it's been on crazy adventure of experimenting, just like crazy scientists. Like, let's just add this.
And that's part of the joy of brewing beers in the craft beer scene.
And we've been lucky to work with really like accommodating brewers.
Yeah, big shout out to Mel.
Mel from Cloudwater worked with, and like, you know, Ben from Hambleton as well, and just everyone we've brewed with who's been just amazing, like Jacob Wildcard as well, and obviously Ollie and Emma from America. Like, everyone we've worked with has just been, you know, really enthusiastic and supportive about trying all of these, you know, these new ingredients that some of them never really worked with. So it's just been super collaborative, and it's just allowed us to kind of experiment with ingredients that others hadn't really used. Not all of them, but a lot of them, they were like, right, let's just try and see where this takes us. Let's go on this crazy ride together, guys.
I wonder how they so when we turn up and say, so we've got this recipe, we've got this ingredient to it, I wonder how they take it. And I can just imagine them in their team meetings. He's back.
I guess it depends. Like, it depends on the brewery, because I imagine like some breweries will probably see like what you're experimenting with as like, well, that's tame because it's not, you know, cotton candy and bacon or something like that. And they might be like, actually, we can do this.
When we had our first collab crowd, we were like, oh my gosh. So with the cassava, it basically just clogged up.
I was going to say, do you have to do anything different with the processes?
No.
So we
didn't see what happens.
It is what it is. But...
so we've I don't want to say failed because we knew, but we hadn't told them.
It's not okay. This just sounds so bad. They know about this now because we did talk about it after, but it was on the day of the brew. We were like, oh shit. Obviously, like, you know, when you have like cassava and you, because it was add hot water to it, it just becomes like dough. And I was like, we forgot to tell them. Oh no. I was like, we're gonna clear up everything. This is gonna be so bad. What we're gonna do? Like, anyway, so got there. What we said would happen did happen.
It was fine. It was fine in the end. It worked.
It did work.
Able to make it.
But they were like, don't worry. Yeah, exactly. They were like, someone wanted to do pretty much the same with like carrots, and it was worse. And I was like, you know what?
The experience was worse.
So we were like, that's fine.
Better.
We felt way better.
Yeah, that does make you feel better.
I think traditionally, anyways, these ingredients have been used in beer before.
Yeah.
Maybe not modern beer equipment, but they are used. You know, I'm like, you know, if this grandma can do it in the village, you can do it too. Come on. It's fine.
I've still got a can of your of the collaboration with Wildcard, the yam one.
Oh, wow.
I haven't had it because I was saving it. We were saving it for something which I think has been pushed out. So I'm like, oh, I've got to drink that now.
Yeah.
And really excited to try it though, because it just sounds really, really interesting.
The yam napa is just
really
beautiful beer. It's actually really nice. Yeah, really, really lovely. And that has quite a nice mouthfeel to it, I think, actually. So yeah, got some good reviews on that one.
Some really good reviews on that. Yeah, it's because it's so different. Like you drinking, you're like, I can taste something, and then you realize it's got yam in it. That's what I can taste.
That's what I can taste. I can actually taste it. Yeah.
So
that was another one that Sorry, Jake.
I remember seeing Instagram and they were like, we're putting yams in. We don't know what's going to happen. I was like, oh, that's going to clog that up. Let's see what happens. Oh yeah, clogged it out.
One of the guys, Asa. So don't speak to Asa about that whenever you see him.
Traumatic memories of you probably can't eat yams ever again.
I'm never doing this. Never again. But no. It was good. We made it. They're still brewing beer. It's okay. It's like
exactly. That's it. We're still brewing. It's totally fine. But yeah, no. I'm so like, I am really just impressed about the way you're like, it's just like, it sounds easy to go like, it's just trial and error. It's just experimenting. Like, you just do it and you just see what happens and you research it. And then I feel like you're downplaying your ability, because just being like, yeah, we've researched, we've done it, like there's still so much trial and error that some other people have to do to get that same quality and that same like really I'm not just saying like it's really good because you're on here. Like I've literally bought your Eko Black, like for example, so many times because it is so good, and it's being able to just be like, yeah, I did a bit of research, I spoke to some other brewers, and using hops that are not just like down the road that I can go. I think some people have the luxury of the hops I needed down the road, or they're very easily accessible in comparison, and you can go, I'll take this risk because it's not maybe as expensive to a degree. So if something goes wrong, you could be like, unfortunate, like we'll bin it off, and it's not the end of the world, and like you guys could do the same. But when it's something that's a lot more rare to get a hold of, it is got to be so much more difficult. So the fact that you've just gone like, yeah, we did research, and then we just sort of like just did it, like it's
hearing you
really
say it now, I'm like,
good.
Oh, we're crazy.
No, I think it's just
crazy.
I think it's
why did we do that? No.
I think it's a testament to obviously your abilities, being like, and the fact that you're like trusting your instinct of like, okay, this might seem crazy to some people, but we're just gonna go for it. And it's ended up being like, it's ended up going down really well with people, and I think it's paid off, obviously. It's really tasty.
It's really lovely.
It has. And like I said, there are ingredients that people have brewed with before. It's not, or they've used in beverages or food. So we were like, we're just kind of bringing back, or at least, or bringing to light, ingredients that are used in traditional African beers, really. So those are the ingredients that they would use in their beers anyways. And we thought, you know what, why don't we just see what happens in modern European style of brewing and see what we get, really. But a lot of it is experimentation, but also it is, I do say research, but actually it's a lot of reading, a lot of research, a lot of speaking to people until I guess we can get our own site where we can, and we've done, I guess, some home brewing as well, so we know the process, so to speak. So it's but I know hearing it like that, it's like, take a risk and see what happens. But people have made good beers from them, so I think
that's an amazing approach. I think that's an amazing approach, and I don't think that should make you feel at all like, oh, that sounds crazy.
I know when you say it back, I'm like, oh goodness. I think like it's one of those things where like, if you had said this to me before we started it, I would have been like, maybe we need to slow down a little bit. Are you sure? But
are you sure this is going to work? Are you sure people are going to buy it?
Yes, they are.
But
what does the actual procurement process of getting the hops look like for you guys? Is it like, do you go through somebody else that has to get it for you? Do you go direct to people?
So we use an agent, and just to be open about it, we use an agent to go through so wherever we brew the beer, whoever is brewing the beer, they then approach an agent and get the hops through an agent. So that's how we get the hops. So we don't go direct, but we somehow get our hands on them.
No, that's what I because I'm only asking strictly because I'm like, totally, when it comes to I've spoken to other people that have tried to, like, from a home brewing perspective, get their hands on like African hops, and they're like, it is so difficult because it's really hard to find them, and especially with COVID and everything, it was a lot harder to get it in the country as well. So he was like, the person I spoke to was just like, I wanted to make this beer and I wanted to try doing it with like African hops, but it was just too difficult. So I didn't know kind of how it worked, not on a home brewing level, like what
I know we've been contacted as well about getting them, and we were like, honestly, it was we used an agent, a little bit of luck as well, and I guess good timing, because when we were trying to get it took months. It wasn't just like we were able to get it like that.
2 weeks later.
And so it was kind of like, are we going to do this or are we not? And they were like, okay, you can now get them, because obviously it's being shipped from South Africa.
6 months of planning just to the point where we got the hops in.
And we were like, we need to get enough volumes that we'll be able to make, kind of maybe different beers, and also they need to keep, after a while we wouldn't be able to use them, so we need to move really quickly. But I guess for the home brewers who are listening, I guess it's difficult, because for the companies bringing it in, or the agents, it's the volumes as well. It's like, is it, I guess, viable for them? Unfortunately, because they're not as easily accessible. I think in terms of volumes, that's also what they look at. They're like, can we get this in, and how much can we get here? Is it worth it for us with like the costs? Turns out the volumes we wanted to brew worked out for us. But it was months of panic. We were like, are we even going to release these beers? They're coming, and they were like, they're on their way. And oh my gosh. No, it was exciting. I think we were really excited. We were like, they're in the UK now. It's like, it's like you're waiting for like a baby. It's like waiting. Are the hogs here? Oh my god, it was stressful. It was so stressful.
I can imagine. Like, how far out when you're doing that do you have to plan your bit? Like, because obviously if it takes that long to be able to get there, do you have to plan quite far out of what you want to do so you can get as much of it as you can as soon as possible?
So we have a brew schedule that we work to, and it's typically basically a year. So we're planning a year in advance of, and we know what we want to brew. And also when we use these ingredients, one of the issues we have is you have to be able to get the ingredients regularly, and you need a good supply and a consistent supply. Because the last thing you want is to brew a beer, everyone loves the beer, and then brew it again. But because you have to change the source of the ingredients, it just doesn't taste the same anymore. That's another issue we have: reliability and making sure we get good quality ingredients.
That's been our challenge, but it's still been fun. But those are just things that we manage. Those are just the things that we have to manage in terms of the types of beers that we want to brew.
That's the things that people don't think about, isn't it? Like how much planning goes into it, and if we're going to make this like the core beer, and it's got an ingredient in it that you can't get down the road, it's that planning to get it on the schedule and get it out to people.
Exactly. But maybe one day we'll get our guys to sort it out.
I was going to say, your guys on that. I was going to say that's definitely one to farm off to your guys. Your guys need to worry about that.
They need to do that. Yeah, definitely.
You mentioned Tolakazi, and I don't think we actually mentioned Quasar, but I believe you guys are brewing for the UK, or is it Europe, the Quasar beer that was being released. What's that looking like? Like, how did that actually happen? How did that connection happen? And like, did you approach them? Did they approach you? Did you have to apply to do that?
Honestly, we have to give a lot of credit to IPA. Yeah, we do, because
so
I guess honestly, just great. She's just like a lovely person as well. I think that's one, not just like a great brewer, but
can't
she's
wait to meet her.
Honestly,
to the UK, or we go.
She's on our list to talk to on the podcast. And I had it almost booked in, and then she couldn't make it because it was her birthday, and I was like, do you know what? I'm gonna allow that. I'm gonna let you go.
I guess you're allowed a birthday. We were saving that yam beer for where we were hoping to talk to Jessie and Apua. And we were like saving it, and then it got pushed out, and we were like, oh no. But now I'm just extra excited.
She's honestly, you're gonna have a great. She's like so lovely, so knowledgeable about like brewing and the ingredients. And it was also really, because obviously we do speak to like loads of people, and I think people ask us and they're interesting and stuff. But it was really interesting speaking to someone who knew what we were talking about in terms of like the culture and the process and everything else. It was just like, oh, exactly what we're saying. And she was like, and kind of giving it back. So it's obviously always fun to kind of tell people when they're discovering it, but we were actually speaking to someone who is brewing with these type of ingredients at the moment and selling them all the time to people who are kind of used to it. So it was really interesting. So then she was kind of like, look, I'm gonna do Quasar, and it'll be great if we could start brewing with like sorghum and everything else. We actually haven't started the brew yet, so it's going to be part of a collab. again, like we were saying, brew slots and stuff, because we don't have our own brewery. It's all about the slot. But yeah, we're really excited about that particular collab and what they're doing, like doing some really great things, especially for women as well in brewing. Because like I said, in Africa, a lot of the women actually brew, but they don't get the recognition or the pay that their male counterparts get, which even there, some of the men don't really get much, to be honest. But actually, a lot of the women there are the actual brewers, and then other people consume them and just don't give them enough credit. So it's just, it was really, we were like, yes, definitely, we'll get involved. Like, sign us up. We're like, we just can't wait to finally do it, get it out there.
Just get a brew slot agreed and then just do it.
I'm looking forward to it. Like, we ordered our first sip brew boxes. That was the that has like the merch from it, the t-shirts and everything. So we ordered that, and we were just like waiting for signs of the beer, and we're like,
they're at Tori's mum's house, and Tori's mum's going to bring them over when she visits.
Yes. She's got her flight booked now, Joe, so
okay,
I'll
good.
remind her of the boxes.
She was like, she's like,
I think there's beer in here. I was like, there's not. I was like, they don't send beer. And then she's like, but there's like a can in there, and I was like, it's not beer, I promise you. I was like, it's something else, I don't know what it is. It is not beer.
It's not beer.
But yeah, I'm keeping an eye out, eagerly awaiting, because it will be really good.
We can't wait. There's so many things we want to do, like so many collabs we think of all the time, and we're like, we just need to get the slots in, like even the Brave Noise. And we were thinking, okay, then if we can't do this right now, how can we kind of give back? Like, can we, from ourselves? And it's just, and I think all of whatever we do, we always come back to that. We just need our site, like tomorrow, yesterday. It needs to happen like yesterday. And then we'll have so much more freedom to be involved in a lot of these initiatives, and be able to give back as much as we want to as well. So it's just, we're at the point where we're like, it needs to happen now, now. And we're working really, really hard to do that. So watch this space, guys. Guys and girls.
Got the fingers crossed.
I know. Again, fingers.
Again.
And toes,
I'm going to open my favourite one now. Echo back.
I
can't. I've been so patient. I've been so patient, and I just want to. Speaking of, like, if you get your own space, would you guys ever consider like trying to brew a beer in the more, like, you were talking about the kit being obviously more modern kit, like, would you consider brewing a beer using the more traditional methods and like doing it with the less the scaled back
a lot of it is manual, so
to be honest, once we have our own site, everything's
possible, right? It is. It's true. Everything's
an option.
I guess in terms of the storage though, I don't know, and keeping it, I think we need to look a little bit more to that. More research. But a lot of the time the beers are consumed fresh, or at least like over a period of days, and not the long shelf lives or long-ish in comparison, like the month long shelf life that you have. But that's definitely an interesting one, actually. Maybe we could have like let's kind of make our beers like by hand, and then like consume. You guys come back in a few days and we'll consume them and see what happens. Like,
that's what you should do for like
Broom only.
I was gonna say that's what you could do at like International Women's Day or something like that. Amazing. You could be like, come in, we'll teach you about how to brew the more traditional way, and then we'll reconvene towards the weekend and drink it.
Literally, like, honestly, we could do that.
It's a great shout.
That's such a good idea. It's like,
can have that for free.
This is what this brain does. This is what this brain does.
Buzzwords, complexities, and the ideas.
It's going to be research and complexities. It's going to be the takeaways. And I'm doing my happy dance, so I just smell it.
No. You just opened the black.
Love it so much.
When was the last time we had the black? I don't know. No, last week, 2 weeks ago.
I had one recently,
Oh, you had one? I had one 2 weeks ago.
That was the one that we were like, when we first got invited to do Arundel, we were like, we want to get black. We're like, we were like, we know we want to have like Eko, like we're like, hands down, we want them on the bar, and then we were like, oh, Eko black, and then
we want Eko black, and it's like,
but actually, having had this, like, I can see how this is a really good. The IPA is a really good like festival beer.
It's
so light and easy
really
drinking. It was just a purely selfish standpoint where I was just like,
we just wanted to be able to drink
we were like,
it.
to be fair, we hadn't known about this one at the time that we got invited to do the festival, because this wasn't out yet, and we just immediately were like, we want Eko Black. We were like, it was the one thing we like knew, because we were like, it's a dark beer and it's sessionable, and we wanted to have something dark that was not too heavy, that was actually sessionable, and people didn't feel too like gassy or bloated or whatever. Like, we wanted them to be able to just drink it and enjoy hopefully nice weather next weekend.
Exactly. I think we've had it at a festival before as well, haven't we? And it went down really well, because like you said, it is sessionable. And we tried, but that's again one of the challenges of our brew starts. We were kind of like, can we push it? And like Hambleton, like amazing people, they really tried, but they were like, sorry guys, we just can't. It's like, okay, problem.
I am by no means disappointed with what we've ended up.
I'm excited about having this IPA
on tap. I think that would be really, really interesting and really good for sure. And I think people will like it as well, to be fair.
Something different. It'd be good to kind of like, let them try the South African hops.
Let the people try it.
They'll see how good they are. Give the people SA hops.
Give them what they want, that they don't know they want.
Yeah, exactly.
They don't know they want it. They'll know by the end of the festival they want it.
Yes.
It'd be really good as well. I'll try to, like, when we're there, I'll try to sort of just be like, what do you think about that? And be like, have you had African hops before? And just speaking of festivals, and you just mentioned the fact that you've had it at festivals before, and do you have any other festivals planned? Because obviously, again, shout out, like, shameless self-promotion, Arundel. By the time this airs, it will be the end of the week that we're going to be at Arundel, and at least one of you is going to be there. Or at least
at least one, maybe two.
That's exciting.
We need to have a discussion about that, but maybe two. And again, like, people know, we still it's all about like work and timing and calendars and stuff, but we tend to want to go to both festivals, but we do have more festivals to go to, Arundel being, I guess, the first of like this, it's kicking off festival season in a way, isn't it? I think that's really great.
We're doing a Riverside Festival again this year.
I'm going to be at Riverside as well.
Yes.
Hey, I might have to get a ticket for that. I feel like I'm missing out now.
I'm going to be, to be fair, I'm going to be working it. So, but I'll be there, so I'll say hi.
Yay! So we'll be there, and then we are going to be at London Craft Beer Festival.
Oh, I'm going to be at London Craft Beer Festival. Yeah, that's exciting.
We are.
I think we're just ticking off like which festivals we're
going to be at. I'm trying to think if I feel like there's one in between, or am I completely off? Now the drinks are getting to my head. There we go. Lager IPA Black.
I think there is one in between, but I can't remember which one.
We're so sorry. We will check. Sorry, guys.
There's just so many things going on.
Things going on. But yes, we're excited about all of them.
At least we'll be at those.
Those are definitely going to for now. And they were like, booked in advance. We're like, you guys are very good, like months in advance. So so we're really looking forward to seeing so many people and meeting people as well. So it's really, really exciting. I can't wait.
Yeah,
it'll be good. It'll be good, fun times.
I don't think until like last year when we started going back to festivals, Tori and I didn't really realize how much the festival is like. The consumers are there, they're trying all different beers, but it's also an opportunity for the brewers to meet each other and have those conversations.
Exactly.
And without them, people weren't getting the chance to meet different people and try different things and talk about suppliers and different things that they were doing and creating those collaborations. Like, festivals are really important for that, so it's going to be good to make that happen.
Like, I went to SIBA as well, and it's not a festival, but it's still, just like a gathering of, I guess, people who work in the same field as you. And I got to meet so many people that I wanted to meet for so long, and you know, they were just like, oh my goodness, like finally get to meet, I see you on socials, and I'm like, yes. And I think again they think we have a team. I was like, no, it's me. I'm behind
no, it's me.
the socials.
They're like, oh, normally our guys,
One of my guys. Just one of
All
my guys.
guys.
But our guys
told
have the
me.
day off.
Our guys told me that
Just
you
me now.
know,
Yeah.
it's just me for today.
For today.
My little helpers are not there.
They don't get to enjoy the fun stuff.
No.
They just do the admin.
Yeah.
So it's so yeah, no, it's super important, definitely. I agree. It's just exciting times. And I think when we started as well, we were kind of like, how are we going to get to, I mean, we go to festivals anyways, like Bean, but it was like, how do we get to go as us, as Eko? And then pandemic hit and stuff. And then, so it was really great last year to finally be able to attend festivals. And
and just meeting people and talking to people, and so you meet people and you realize they've been following your journey from the beginning, and it's quite humbling in a way, that we started this, and I guess when we started, no one knew who we were, and then we got to a point where we're at a festival and you realize that there are people who actually want to see you succeed, and they really, really enjoy what you're doing, and they like what you're doing, they enjoy the products you're making, and it's putting a smile to their face, and it's always a nice experience when you meet people.
No, it is. Or people are like, oh, I actually came to see you. Like we had one lady who, so I think you did obviously we would do tastings and stuff, right? So you should probably tell the story, because and then
so I did a tasting at Theatre of Wine, where they just had they normally do wine pours where people come in and they try the wine, but they did the craft beer, and they had our beer. And so I was there for the whole evening and just met loads of people who just randomly turned up at the shop to buy some beer. And then we went to Meatopia, and I was like, I'm pretty sure I recognize that person. And then she sort of came over, and it was the same person that I've met at the Theatre of Wine.
Yeah. Oh, wow.
And she found out that we were going to be at Meatopia and bought a ticket.
Oh, wow.
And came just because we were going to be there, and it was just like,
and I was like, what? She's like, yeah. And then we met Americans. That was insane. Like living in England, they were like, I follow you. No, I'm always liking you. And I was like, oh, that's you. That's who you are. They're like, I knew you were going to be here. And I came, and I was just like, this is insane. Like, I was like, no, they were like, no, definitely. And they were just there like constantly, and they had a great time. So that was just mind blowing. And yes, you have to, it's like, okay, simmer down. I'll let it get to your head, but it is good for us in terms of being small business owners and knowing that actually people do like what we do, and they do follow us, and they like our journey, and they are interested in us growing and doing well, and we want to be able to put these drinks out there, and we really love what we do. I think, like we say, we still have our day jobs, but this is by no means like, I think, what is your side gig? And I'm like, no, it's full time.
It's
like
gone beyond.
It's gone beyond. We're doing them side by side. I think you have to be realistic in that we have a young family, and we have to be fair to our kids and try to make sure they look after, but also you want to follow this. So it means that we just don't sleep, but hey, it's good. We need sleep anyways.
I think you can like really underestimate as well, like how much your personality can really sell product as well. Like if you are like a good person doing good things, and somebody actually puts a face to that good tasting beer, and they're like, oh, it's not just a good tasting beer, it's these like really friendly, nice people as well who are really passionate about what they do. Like you are going to get people that naturally like want to root for you, because it has become personal in that sense. Like they've met you now and it's become personal. And I think a lot of times, I can only say this as a person, like originally, like I think at the start of the pandemic when everything was online, it was a lot of like, you didn't really get that was the first time you had that close interaction with breweries in the way that we have them, at least from my experience anyways. And I think that's when it started to be like, oh, they're just people. Like I always felt like you'd see someone at a festival and then you'd be like, oh, I can't talk to that person. Like that person works for a brewery. And you we kind of put it on a pedestal. Like, oh, that person doesn't want to talk to me. And then when you have people that just want to talk to you, like, oh, they're just people.
We do, like, honestly, they do want to talk to people, and they want to, I'm saying they, like, we're not, but putting ourselves in your shoes is the same. We were kind of like, that's the owner of, like, oh my gosh, I think obviously in the States, I guess because our journey started from America. When you're thinking of like the biggest brewery, like think about Brooklyn Brewery, we're like, that's the head brewer at Brooklyn Brewery is following us. What? He spoke to us. Are you joking? This is no.
I don't even know. I'd probably just shut down. I'd be like,
it's like he didn't. Why are you doing this?
I have to go to the bathroom.
Are you catfishing me? Is this what this is? Okay, I know what you're doing, but no, I guess they are literally just people, and even for us, we're like, obviously we're just people, but we do want to meet, you know, the people who consume our beer, and we want to hear from them, and like, what do you guys want from us as well? Because it helps us grow, gives us ideas, and if we can accommodate and if we can brew, you know, things that you would like to see, then 100% we would do that. And I think having our own site will definitely make that a lot more of a reality, because I know people are like, why don't you move this next? Are you going to try this? And it's like, I would love to.
So it's sometimes I feel that, you know, like you sometimes get people that are really into a craft, and they react really badly if somebody makes a suggestion about something. And I think for us, it's more, we welcome, if you speak to someone and they say, oh, why don't you try this? It's like, that's
interesting.
It's an interesting thing. We probably already considered it, but knowing that people are thinking about it as well, it's good to know, right?
Yeah.
So we welcome suggestions. People talk to us and say stuff, and good, bad, indifferent. It's useful information to have. So we're very open to people approaching us and saying stuff and making suggestions.
Suggestions aside, are there any beers that, like, if you had your own space and obviously there was more flexibility to kind of do what you wanted when you wanted, are there any styles or like flavor profiles that you would be really, really keen on playing with that maybe you haven't done much of or haven't done at all?
That's interesting, actually.
Interesting question.
We were asked that, and I think, like, no, because before we were kind of like, we hadn't dabbled in the IPAs or the super bitter beers, and also because it's, I don't want to say it's not on brand, but obviously because we tend to want to brew beers that go with food, we haven't done one that's like super hoppy. But I feel like that's one I would definitely want us to try and have brew a super hoppy beer, just to see would happen.
I think you're right. So because a lot of our beers go well with food, and we sell to a lot of restaurants, there's always that conscious, okay, if we brew something that's super bitter and super hoppy, will the restaurants will they take it on board as well as they're taking everything else we've made? So maybe we kind of shy away from it in a way. For now. But I think when we have our own site and we can sell it through our own tap room, and we know that, okay, we brew it, we'll sell it ourselves. Then why not?
You kind of do the, like, here's the core range that's the very sessionable, pairs with all food, and then every so often you go, here's the niche one that we're doing this month or whatever, that's a bit different.
Come and try it here.
Small batch experiment.
Either that, or you just go, what does a really hoppy bitter beer go well food wise with, and then you just have to sell them on that, and then go find the right restaurant that serves the food that goes with it really well.
And I think because we contract with currently, we do have to, not unfortunately, but we have to be pragmatic, we have to be realistic and think about this very carefully. It's like, we are running a business, so we want to stay afloat, we don't want to close down, and we want to make sure we grow, so we have to be sensible about what, you know, the brew starts we get. It's like, okay, what can we, are we going to sell this? And it might be that, look, it just flies off the shelf, but also it's a risk, right? And we're like, okay,
you take a lot of risks. You take a lot of risks. You don't need to take
so
the extra risk.
Adding risk.
And we know a lot of people do like them. We know they like hoppy beers, but also, like we said, a lot of our customer base who are repeat customers are restaurants, and honestly, they're almost like that vessel to other customers who then come to us. So they're like, oh wow, like individuals that I didn't know this, let me check them out. And so we have to think carefully about that. But that's definitely one that's like on our radar to brew. And it'll just be really fun to kind of see how that would turn out. And if we would add another ingredient, like a staple, another African staple, or if we would just do it like as a standalone, if we would even mix it with any South African hops, if we could ever get hold of any again.
I think one of the things worth saying is it's such an exciting time, because once we have our own site, it's just literally I feel like we're kind of constrained in a way because of the way our business is set up with contract brewing. But once you have your own site, it's just like, okay, just let it loose.
Well, it's also because you can have multiple tanks and everything, and you can kind of go, here's the things that keep everything ticking over, so we can continue to do what we love. And here's something that's
going to blow your mind.
Like here's the really, really like complex ones. It's a complex beer, but like, I mean, think about it, like people do complex beers things that are based on desserts, people do things that are based on cocktails, people do all kinds of things. Like you could be saying, oh, let's try bringing, like, there's this well-known African dessert, like let's try to recreate that, and then it's like let's bring attention to what that is and try to recreate those flavors. And it's less of a gamble when you know that you're still putting out the stuff that everyone's going to go for, and then they might be like, throw one of those in the box and just see. And you could just try it and somebody something so different that they would have never like seen otherwise. So it's we've crossing our fingers and toes. I want to like will this to happen. Like it
will. I think we are.
It will.
Disclosure. We are closed. Like, for disclosure, or as much as we can disclose without. We feel that we're very, very close. So
look out for some news soon, hopefully.
Hopefully.
All the positives. If you got your own space, like what would you want it to look like? What kind of like vibe would you be going for? And what's your dream situation? If sky's the limit and there's no budget, like what would you want your space to be like?
No budget. Oh my goodness.
No budget. We're not gonna
swings.
If I said
the ceiling.
Yes.
Literally, I would love that, because I love swings so much.
I love swings.
I would never leave. I'd be like, I'm here all the time.
And it's like, when you stop, refill. Thank you.
Refill the beer.
Like, it would be like queuing, waiting for people to leave the swings.
Like, I guess I won't get those though, because you do not want to like throw up everywhere. So it's like, how many have you had? Okay, cool. You can go on. But that's that. But honestly, for us, ideally it would be just a place where we would love to have a brewery, tap room, and then somewhere to like sell food as well, to kind of give that food experience as well with the beer, to try and recreate what, in terms of, so just being really young, I think the last time I went to, or I can just have that experience of like beer and food in an African like country, it was just like people drinking, like I'm thinking of like, people drinking their beers and then just like having food like to share amongst them. And that's basically, in my mind, what we would have. I think try to give people a taste of our culture, a little bit of our culture.
I think that's it, isn't it? It's welcoming people to a space where we can share our culture. And that's not just the beer, that's the beer, the food, the music, everything that kind of goes into wrapping up that culture that we love so much, and maybe a lot of people aren't aware of. Something different that's not currently out there.
everything that makes us like everything about us being British, but also our African roots. It'll be great to just have that synergy.
Yeah,
mesh the two things together. And
it's just be great. I can't wait.
Yeah.
And then one day maybe the swings.
And then the swing, I mean, like, that's what you need to do, like a crowdfunder of, like, if you pay for a swing.
There's gonna be a swing now, right? I can see this.
There needs to
see
be one swing.
And like his eyes thinking about
health and safety.
You just put in like you'll be like, we're crowdfunding, and if you want to pay for this swing,
guys on it.
One of the guys
will sort out the swing.
And like make sure no one hurts themselves. If it's getting too much, it'll be like, Tori, no, time to get off.
Time to get off. And I'd be like, no, time out.
You can only use the swing in the first 20 minutes of arrival. After that, you're not allowed.
I'd be like, I'm just gonna I have to go to the shop. I'll be back. My 20 minutes starts again.
They'll have a picture of you like, no. She does this every time.
She is banned from the swing. She hogs the swing.
Guest, guys.
She hogs the swing.
I feel like there's going to be a swing.
A special guest.
This is.
Honestly, we went to the park when was it on Sunday?
A swing in our brewery.
It's positive. It'll be good. You can have your own space. You can bring the kids in. You could be like, here's, like bring them into that culture, and then you're like, but also there's a swing, and they'll love that. Who doesn't love swings?
I mean, right now, our eldest, every time we kind of just like talk about beer and bring everything else, she's like, oh, this beer again. I think she goes to school and just like tells everyone. My parents are like, they drink beer all the time, and it's like,
I wonder what the teachers think of us.
Yeah.
Like, can they give us some
beer?
Actually, they're always talking about beer, those two. But no, I think we went to the park on, was it last week? I don't know, but I think he was looking at me like, because if we go to the park separately with our girls, I don't get to play because, well, I'm looking after my kids. But he was there, so I was like, I'm gonna swing. This is great. I was just like, this is amazing. I think he was just thinking, what is this grown woman doing, like running to the swing?
No shame, I would have done that. I would have done the exact same. All good.
No
judgment.
Yeah, swings are fun.
It's the one thing that's fun and very low effort because you can just sit there and it's really great.
I love the way you're justifying it by the amount of effort.
You need it. You definitely
low
need
effort.
It's nice. It's very calming. It's very soothing. Emotional.
Thank you. As a child,
you'll end up with the swing.
You're ending up with a swing. It's decided.
I know, right? It's like I can see this. Like this is so going to happen now.
Literally. What's going to happen though is you're going to be the one that uses it the most. You're going to be like, no, I didn't want the swing, and you're going to always be on the
cleaning
swing.
stuff, cleaning the toilets.
He says, and he's like, I need to like de-stress. I'll be too busy cleaning.
Won't be able to use the.
I need to de-stress. Honestly, swing. Thank you. Great for your mental health. It is. I really highly recommend
if you want
it.
A swing, we'll get a swing.
Thank you.
Yes, we won the swing battle.
That's why I love you. This is why we're in this together, you know. Yeah. He's like, you want this, I'll give it to you. And I'm like, great, thank you, we're here.
How the best relationships are formed, I think.
Happy wife, happy life. He knows this.
My final question, I don't know, Joe might have a final question, so my final question is, if you were going to recommend like one place to go in Africa for good food and beer, where would you say for someone to go? COVID, we're able to travel again. COVID's not over now, but like if you had to just pick one place.
This is controversial because we come from different places anyway. So he's from Nigeria, I'm from Congo, and we do come from, so it'll be like controversial. But well,
pick it. Also, I guess in the way, if you're recommending for someone that's like never been and wants to go and get like a feel of just the culture overall, and it's not saying it's necessarily the best place, but the best place that you can go to sort of get a feel for the culture, the food, the beer, all of that in like.
I think it depends on what the person likes and what they're into. So obviously South Africa is like everyone knows about South Africa. There's the safaris in East Africa. There's North Africa everyone knows about. There's West Africa. There's at Christmas now in West Africa. There's a party scene.
Like Ghana, Nigeria.
So you go to Ghana, Nigeria at Christmas. It's like in the summer we go to Spain and Ibiza and all these places.
But in the winter,
their summer. So it's like everyone travels.
Yeah, actually, yeah, that's a good point to people listening.
Yeah.
If you really do want to enjoy Africa, you actually should go in the winter, like, and more or less anyway, because in the summer it's our rainy seasons in different countries in Africa, to be honest. So it depends
on what the individual,
but it does rain. It's warm, but it does rain a lot.
Yeah, so
I didn't know that about like having there be like a Christmas party.
That's
amazing.
So I don't know if you know, there's a song that so there's a song that Ed Sheeran did with a Nigerian artist, and the reason the song was released at Christmas, it wasn't because they had nothing better to do with their time and they released the song at Christmas. They released the song at Christmas because that's when the party season is in West Africa.
Oh wow.
That's amazing.
So it was literally like releasing the song in May or June in the UK. It's the equivalent. So
just getting ready for that party season.
Getting ready for the party season. Everyone travels back. They have lots of festivals. There's so many festivals in different parts of that part of the continent. Ghana, Nigeria, just all over the place.
I think with Ghana you have Accra, and I think in Ghana at the moment they're having a massive scene where they are bringing elements from different places as well, but you can get a really good feel for their culture. Nigeria as well. I think with Congo it's the same. I think with Congo we're really big on music, really big on like having outdoor, food. So they'll like cook like meat in these massive drums, so like literally charcoal barbecues in drums, and you have that, and you have like your beers as well. I will say, unfortunately, that a lot of the beers are brewed by the bigger breweries there, unfortunately. And then I think if you want to have the more craft beer, then go to a village. Honestly, then they will make they are starting there, but it's still very, very tiny, I think. But anywhere you go, you'll have a really good time. That's definitely for sure. And there'll always be food. I think obviously our beer drinking culture here is I could just sit in a bar without having food and it's fine. But there, if you go there and just drink, like, what are you going to eat? And it's like, not cool. Like, no, you're going to have something. Don't worry, we'll be back.
So sounds amazing. As well, barbecue. I'm like, I'm hungry now. You describing that barbecue. It was like,
it's like Congo. We do this. So it's this. It's called taba, and it's basically goat meat, but it's oh my god, it's just so good. Thinking about it now.
If you're vegan.
Sorry, if you're vegan, I'm sorry.
Not vegan. I'm not vegan myself. So I'm like, oh.
But if you are vegan, you can have some cassava, and they have that with this. So you know how you have like Scotch bonnets, but what they'll do is that they'll make it'll be dried out, put into a powder so they can have it, and it just dip some of the cassava that's been cut up, boiled or like fried into the chili, and you'll have it, and it's just it is amazing. And what they do is kind of a snack where they have that with the goat meat that's basically been barbecued over like wood, so it's like it's just so good.
It's really smoky,
smoked goat.
It's amazing.
It's really good. Sorry, baby goats. Always babies though, but it's really good.
So should we agree on a place then? Are we going to go Ghana?
Do you know
let's
what?
not say Nigeria because I'm Nigerian. So
I was gonna say, to be fair, like I feel like everything, you don't even have to pick a place now because everything you've just said, it just all sounds amazing.
There's so many places, but I do think Ghana is a good way to experience it because they have. I think they are like, you can go anywhere in the world, but I think now they're really working on making sure that their tourism is not attractive, but that they want to create that experience for people. And I think so it's a good place to go to experience the culture, but also
I know a lot of people that literally take a month off work in December
and just go there
and up to Christmas, up to the New Year, and just go and chill in Ghana.
Wow.
So I think it's a good shout, and also because there's so much going on, like the their culture minister is doing so much to try and attract a lot of these big festivals. So think Coachella, but slightly smaller. And with African music and African food, and unfortunately Heineken beer.
That's part of the festival vibe, isn't it? Though,
but
it's fun.
But it's about they do. Well, it is what it is. I think.
But it's a big scene now. So,
but they haven't been introduced, to craft beer, like we said, like they drink beer, a lot of beer even, but they haven't been introduced to craft beer. And I think I've even had, friends, but like definitely friends and family were like, I don't really drink beer. People know I'm not a beer drinker. Had our beers and they were like, okay, like I'm not sure what this is, but it's beer. And they're like, this doesn't taste like any other beer I've had. I was like, yes, because you haven't had craft beer. I'll introduce a few to you as well. And they're like, this is good. This is definitely good. Like what? And I'm like, it's like with everything. Just I don't like burgers. What have you had your whole life? McDonald's. Although I do like a McDonald's, but do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's one of those things, isn't it? But even in Nigeria, obviously South Africa, we've got Tolokazi beer, but in Nigeria, there's Batur Brewery. Batur, they are not new, but in terms of how the craft beer scene, they are relatively new in Nigeria, and they're doing really amazing things for craft beer there.
Eko Brewery as well. They're starting to spring up, and I think with time you'll get more and more. So
it'll be great. It'll be really good. And who knows, maybe like 3-4 years time. I would like to say less, but I think it's going to be more realistic to let's say the 5-year mark, where we can start having craft beer festivals in Africa. Different places. That would be really awesome. Like having like Quasar and it would just be so great. I'm just visualizing it now.
That sounds amazing.
Cool. Joe, do you have any other questions?
Right,
because I know that was
another potentially controversial question. Okay, favorite dish to pair with one of your beers.
Oh my god!
Right.
Do we have? Do you know what? I don't even know, because
that was like so rude. You were like, I don't know.
When we start off like the smoky food and stuff, definitely. But I've had it with like curries.
Oh,
I've had it with like Mexican, and it's just like every time I'm having it, I'm just like, well, this is so good. I can't choose. But
so
versatile.
I'm gonna pick one.
Yeah.
I'll go then.
So so jollof rice. And I know I said all these great things about Ghana, but not Ghana jollof.
Stacey's listening. He would be listening to this, and he'll be like,
"What now?"
Excuse me.
Stacey knows that it's not about Ghana jollof.
So you probably need to give a bit of the history.
I should give a bit of history. So
Ghanaians and Nigerians.
Nigerians invented jollof rice, and then Ghanaians decided to start making something similar. But
please calm down.
That's not jollof rice.
You did not invent it.
That's
so
not
there's
true.
You just said that so casually, and then they invented it, and then they just started just making it.
They made something similar.
It's so shady.
So good.
I'm just frozen.
I love it.
It's a massive feud. It really is a massive feud between Nigerians and Ghanaians. It's, oh my goodness, you need to Google it, Nigerian and Ghanaians jollof rules, and it's like,
so I bent the truth a bit there. Nigerians did not invent jollof rice. It's from Senegal. So there's this dish that was invented in the country in Senegal.
But they'll be like, we make it better.
That's very popular in West Africa, and Nigerians we make it our way, and it's very popular in Nigeria. But Ghanaians also make it. The Ghanaian version is you just can't eat it.
You're like, it's fine. It's edible.
No, it's not. That's the thing.
It's not edible.
I'm joking. actually like garden jollof, but I prefer Nigerian jollof.
This is the repairing now. We're like, I mean, no, I really like it. I really like it.
No, it's all love.
I love it.
Sorry,
that was so good.
No, so yeah, Ghanaian jollof, Nigerian jollof, not Ghanaian jollof. No. With the gold, it just goes so well.
Oh my gosh, yeah, we did have it 2 weeks ago actually with the gold, and it was like,
it's just, yeah.
Actually, I think in terms of so obviously you have dishes you make all the time. When it's a celebration or a party, sometimes the rice tends to be again smoked. Africans just love smoking food for celebrations. I just don't know.
I'm on board with it.
They love it.
I'm all for that.
It's really funny, but it just, the taste, everything, it just elevates it. So they're like, yeah, we're having a party. It's just like when you think of smoked salmon, right? You know, you have it at Christmas. So it's basically the same. And I think we had it at a restaurant, one of the restaurants that serve our beer. They were the first restaurant really to take us. Like, yeah, I think we will forever be like grateful for them.
They were the first restaurant to sell it, yeah.
To sell our beer. And we had the rice with the gold, and we hadn't had it for like, I guess just before the pandemic was probably the last time we went there. And I was like, it's still as amazing. So definitely, I think having it with some smoked food, so smoked jollof rice, but also spicy ramen, you know, like the spice, it was good. It was really good, actually. The black with the spicy ramen or smoked jollof with the gold as well.
Yeah.
That was, now I'm just super hungry.
I'm hungry. Those are solid answers, and I'm hungry.
But try it. Just find somewhere that sells.
We actually have a jollof rice recipe.
Yeah, we do. We have one on our
page.
Yeah, or make it yourself, or find somewhere that sells jollof rice.
Oh, we'll have to we'll link it.
We'll do
a link to it.
Yeah.
To your page.
And then
Is it? Wait, I mean, is it the right one? Like, is it the right recipe?
It's not.
I've made it.
That's for sure.
I had to, give the recipe for the Nigerian jollof. Yeah,
it's not Nigerian jollof, no.
Brilliant.
My goodness.
Sorry.
It's controversial.
I don't mean to be biased, but I
did think of one more question to ask you, if I can.
Go ahead.
If you had to think of one beer to represent you, got like one of your beers that best represents you guys as a brewery, which one? It could be something that maybe you're not currently like selling because it's been brewed as a one-off. What would that beer be?
Oh, that's a really interesting question. That's a great question.
I feel like I couldn't not ask.
I feel like we've been asked so many different questions, but never that question.
Asked us that. That's really interesting. I would say maybe the haze.
I think it's between the haze and the black, because the black was our first one.
Yeah.
And then when we released the black, everyone thought we were crazy, because why would you release a smoked porter, not an IPA? Yeah. I don't know. I feel like we owe so much to the black that I don't know. But the haze is such a great drink. I don't know.
It's really good.
I think the haze, it's just really like good. Us in the sense that you don't really expect it. We just kind of came on the scene, and the haze, it's just like that. I think it looks, you're like, okay, this looks different. And then you try it and you're like, oh, I really like this, actually. And I think that's kind of been,
everyone went mad for it. So good. So good.
I think that's basically what happened with us. I think loads of people are just like, oh, okay, who are these guys? And then they have our beer and they're like, oh, okay. And then they find out about us and what we're about, what we're trying to bring, and they're like, oh no, I quite like this. I like this. I think, I'm gonna go with the haze.
I'm not sure.
I think we've got the black is our baby.
I was going to say what I should have said is
the black is our baby.
What I should have said is which one is definitely like the number one, and why is it Eko Black? It's like what I should have said. Because I am biased. Because I will say that I'm biased.
It's got to be one of them.
It has to be one of them. Yeah, I think the black is definitely. yeah, like you said, we do have to, because it was a different kind of drink, and it could have gone not so wrong, because not that it's not a good drink, but it's like,
it could have not landed
the way we needed it to.
Yeah, exactly.
I think, and we managed to do so much with just that one drink.
Yeah, because there was a period when we only had, in fact, the whole of the first 12 months, we only sold the haze, and we just went approached different restaurants.
We only sold the black.
We only sold the black. So just approached different restaurants, and if they all said no, then Eko Brewery wouldn't exist.
Yeah.
No.
So it's the tough sell. It's a tough, like a porter in general is hard. A smoke porter's even harder.
We picked the worst beer to approach these restaurants with.
Yeah.
And luckily,
but I think it was the fact that it was different. I think
because it was different.
Yeah, they weren't expecting that. I think people would try things, obviously, and just think, okay, great. But I think most people tried it and they were like, okay, what is this? And
I said we picked the worst beer. We picked the worst style.
Yeah.
We picked the worst style.
It's not the bad. Yeah.
No.
Just because, they don't. Yeah.
Yeah.
They don't tend to want too many dark beers for a restaurant, because that's not what you tend to think about when pairing with food. Usually doesn't tend to be like a stout or a porter, and then when you add the smoked element to it, people might see that and be like, oh, that's, unless you know what you're getting into.
Exactly.
A lot of times if you're going to these certain restaurants, that's not what you're used to order. You're going for food, and it's not very often that the people that are going for the food experience are also wanting the beer experience as well. Obviously it happens, we all are like that as well, so we know that it does happen. But it's that thing of like, that must be such a difficult sell to go to a restaurant and be like, you want this smoked porter,
you want this, you want this,
here's why.
It is. I think that's spot on, actually. I think a lot of them just had Guinness and were like, we have a Guinness. What? Everybody knows Guinness, and the ones who do want their beer will want to drink a Guinness. But actually what's now happened is that they, because of our black, they've been able to offer that, that experience with beer. They're like, this is different. You've never tasted something like this before. And they're like, okay, really cool. Pour it. And they're like, you're right. You are very right. I will have some more. So it's been it's our baby. The black is our baby, our number one, I think. Should
we settle on both?
It was the same. You can both pick a separate one, so we'll just say both.
Fine. We'll allow that.
Thank you. Thanks. I couldn't choose.
We need the swing to de-stress.
I need the swing.
Choose between your beer babies. That was a rough question.
That was one.
I wonder how other breweries answer that question.
That was a good one.
I have asked somebody else off the top of my head. I can't remember who it was that I asked, because I feel like I ask a lot of ridiculous questions.
That was a really good question. We've never had that one, because sometimes you get the same question, which is going to happen, but this was one that was like, made us think, oh, hang on a minute.
Well, we should have told you in advance. Like, it's one that I know that I've definitely had asked before another time, and it was like in my head, and I was like, this would be a good one to ask right now.
It's a good one, definitely.
Cool. Thank you guys for joining us.
It's been amazing.
Really, really had a lovely chat, and I'm really excited to get into see at least one of you next week.
Yeah,
finally.
Right at the end of this week, by the time this episode comes out, and sharing a drink, and it'll be really good.
Yeah,
can't wait. Finally, honestly, it's been a long time coming.
Yes.
Yeah. And if you are at Arundel Brewfest, make sure you come and find us, and make sure you come and try some of this Eko IPA, because it is amazing. We're loving it.
And we'll link to all of your socials and everything else. But is there anything else you want to plug?
Oh, just looking forward to seeing everyone in the upcoming weeks, months. That is kicking off this festival season. So come and say hi, everyone, and try the IPA and all of our other beers, actually. So go to our website.
And look out for some news. You never know, we might find a site and just
Everyone, cross fingers and toes. Will it?
I don't know.
Will it into existence?
Yeah, we need to will it into existence.
We will do. We will do it. We're all going to put our positive vibes into it, and it will happen.
It's happening. There we go.
It's a case of when, not if.
Yeah, definitely. That is definitely the case. It's when, not if. So definitely,
cool.
I'm excited. My swing. Give me my swing.
Yay, swing.
He's gonna be like, he's like, your barge. You're never. Your team swing. You're not allowed.
Yeah, the person who came with the idea is barred from
Barred for life.
Well, thank you guys for your time. It's been really, really amazing.
No, it's been great.
Great.
Really enjoyed it.
Thank you so much for having us.
That was really good. Like, honestly, I feel like every time we finish speaking to someone, we're like,
we're like, that
was
so
good. It was amazing.
But
like, genuinely, I think it was, it's been a long, like you said at the beginning, like it was a long time coming to actually have that conversation, because we wanted to get them on for some time, and they wanted to come on for some time, but like they were busy, then we were busy, and it's just been crazy. Like they said, they effectively have 2 jobs, and we have a job and podcasting. And so it's just finding the time where everything fits in, and I'm so glad that it's finally the stars have aligned, and like it's double whammy, because then we get to see them at Arundel as well,
and I'm so glad that the timing has worked out, that we get to talk about their lovely IPA, which I've almost finished. We've almost finished it.
I've just poured up the rest of my glass, and
we're going to be showcasing it at Arundel. Like it's the timing has just worked out so well. And like we were saying as we came off from talking to them, like if you haven't heard us talk about Arundel and you haven't listened to our episode on that, or us talking about it, we really wanted to pick people who we really like, people that were friends to us now. We wanted
people that have been supportive to us, like, people that have agreed to come on, talk to us, be supportive. That we've just got
a really good relationship with, who are like smaller breweries that other people might not have known, so we can give them that boost, like where we've got that opportunity. And then we've just got really good beers that we want everyone to try, like
innovative things as well.
Innovative things, innovative, creative, interesting beers. Like just like we wanted our bar to just have interesting things that people come up and go, ooh, what's that? So if you're at Arundel, come up and go, ooh, what's that at our bar? Because we got the interesting beers,
the stuff we picked as well. Like I'm not even gonna pretend that I didn't pick some of them, because I thought it would just be really funny, like to have, like not that the beers are, not that it's like a bad beer and I picked it because it was funny, and not that I think any of the breweries we picked could put out a bad beer if they tried, but I think it's the thing of like the ones we picked were like, we started off with an agenda of like, this is what we're going to have. And then it's sort of like shifted based on brew schedules and everything else. And then some of the ones we ended up with were like, it would be funny to put those together.
Yeah.
Let's just do it. And I think it's just going to like absolutely, some of it is just going to confuse people and make them like, what? Like, what is going on? And hopefully this is going to be one that people try and they're like, oh, I didn't know anything about African hops before, or
it's
African ingredients.
Like,
so
I love it.
It is tasty. It's very sessionable, and I mean, we talked about it on the episode which you just listened to, and I think it's definitely worth like trying for yourself. And it's like, in my opinion, it's a perfect summer drink. And I think really what Eko, I mean, they've said it, what they're really good at is making very sessionable beers, very drinkable, that are very pairable with food. And so for me, that is my perfect idea of a fridge filler beer as well. Like something that you can go, it's a barbecue today and I'm gonna just take this beer out and enjoy it in the sun. And I feel like you could order like a whole mixed box of stuff and they'll all be just as sessionable, and like they said, pair really well with food and just give you a really good overall experience, especially as we're approaching the nicer weathered months.
Definitely.
They are definitely a brewery that I'd say order a mixed box and see how you feel about it. Even the smoked porter, even the Eko Black. I feel biased because I'm like, it's my favorite one, but I genuinely think even that is like summery.
Yeah, like
For
don't
a
be
dark
put off.
beer.
Like don't be put off by us saying, "Oh, it's smoked," because then you start thinking about, those ones where people go, "Oh, it's bacon in a glass." It's not.
like
It's
that.
chocolatey, but it's sessionable, and so there's a
so well
lightness to it,
balanced.
and there's just this light smokiness that just adds to that complexity of the beer. Like it's not, it's not bacon in a glass. That's not what we're talking about. We're talking about a really easy drinking, complex, but still with like recognizable, beautiful, balanced flavors in it. Like just go drink it. Or don't. Or actually,
you said
don't,
complex,
because
and I'm like, that's our buzzword
that's
of
our
the
buzzword.
night, isn't it?
Like,
Complex
don't drink
and
it.
interesting.
Please don't drink it, because I want to drink all of it.
Yeah, because as they discussed, like their brew schedules, the way they have to brew things, they might not always have it available at all the time. So just leave it for me.
Yeah, just leave it for us.
Or order it and just go, oh, I don't know if I want this one, and then give it to me.
And send it to us. We'll drink it for you.
I love it. It is honestly, I love all the beers, and I think this is the first one we've had the Eko Gold. Yes. And as the people I said in the episode, but as the people that are like, oh, we're not lager drinkers, but then we are. We secretly are, because we just determined that we don't like shit lagers.
Yes.
This is definitely not a shit lager.
No.
And it is just, it's really Moorish. Is the only way that I can describe it. The only one that I've not had yet that they were talking about was the Eko
Haze is really good. I've had it. It's delicious.
And you're not in, and I feel like that speaks volumes, because you're not usually like a.
That's literally what I said when I drank it. I was just like, I don't normally like I'll drink an IPA. I'll drink.
But it's not your go-to. You're not like, I can't wait to have it.
No, and I tried it and I was like, this is delicious. Like there's just it's peachy and fruity and lovely. Yeah.
Oh, I'm excited to have it then. But I think for me this would definitely be like a brewery that's perfect for summer drinks, really.
100%.
Summer drinks and barbecues. So definitely go check them out. We'll obviously tag to all their stuff if you're at Arundel Brewfest this coming weekend. At the time this is coming out, definitely come check it out. Come to our bar and try the IPA. If you're there on the Friday, you'll get to speak to at least one of them, and you can tell them, give them feedback on what you think about their beers, or what you'd like to see them do, or as they said, they're quite receptive to getting feedback. So if you wanted a chance to get to talk to them in person, this is the chance to do it. So, and there's still some tickets left at the time that we're recording this for Friday. There's not many, but there are still some, so get on that. Shameless plug out of the way. But Joe, if people want to come talk to you about African hops, South African hops, where can they talk to you?
If you want to come and talk to me, you're now going to come and talk to me at Love Beer Learning on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, TikTok and Pinterest, because we are having our own.
We're doing this.
We're doing this. Brew stuff. We have done it. YouTube has allowed me to do it. We now have our own A Women's Brew YouTube.
We promised you this for ages, and it took so long. And manual, painstaking labor from Jo. She put her love. She literally put her love into it.
I really did. We've got our own YouTube channel. We're going to have A Women's Brew on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. It's just going to be for the podcast now, and we've got our own email address, which is awomensbrewpodcast@gmail.com.
Yes, indeed.
Yeah.
And this time the emails are probably mainly going through to me. I'll be probably the first point picking up. So I apologize in advance.
So you can talk to us at the podcast at A Women's Brew everywhere, and at A Women's Brew Podcast @gmail.com. Come and find me at Love Beer Learning on everywhere. And come to my website. I'm everywhere. Come to my website, which is lovebeerlearning.co.uk. There's a really good blog there that's got interesting stuff in it. Might have some information in there about what beers you should drink for spring right now. And also you can email me at lovebeerlearning@gmail.com. Tori, where can they find you?
I'm not everywhere. I am just on Instagram at adventures_in_optimism. I'm in the process of getting my blog migrated over. every time I mention it, I feel stupid mentioning it because I barely update it. But
it's okay.
When it gets migrated over and I feel like updating it, it will be there, but it will be linked through my Instagram. So really, you only need to follow me on Instagram.
Come hang out.
That's pretty much it. Again, I'm on TikTok, but it's pretty much that if I'm putting it on TikTok, it's probably on my Instagram as well. And I'm not good at TikToks. I don't have the patience for TikToks. I try, but they're few and far between because my patience level's very low compared to Joe's. But I've got some good ones planned in the works. So keep an eye out.
It's going to be good.
On my Instagram at a minimum. So I'm just going to plug the Instagram.
And if you would like to support us, we are on Patreon. Come and join us. You can be a supporter for just £2 a month. And that is patreon.com/Love Beer Learning. The podcast is there as well. So on that note, cheers.